tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, AfterBuzzers! Welcome back to another episode of The Flash, Season 1, Episode 23, Fast Enough. I am your host, Roxy Striar, alongside the fabulous Tauri Miller.
Hey, you can follow me on Twitter at TauriJ. It's TAURIJAY.
And, of course, Jeffrey Masters.
Hi, guys. Jeffrey Masters. I tweet from Jeff Masters 1.
And our very, very special guest tonight, casting director David Rappaport. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. If you guys are not on YouTube right now and you are listening to us on iTunes, you don't know how fabulous the costume I'm wearing is. So, you're missing out a little bit. As always, you guys can find us on iTunes, on YouTube, on AfterBuzzTV.com. Use the hashtag ABTVFlash if you're reaching out to us. On SoundCloud, everywhere you're looking, we are pretty much there, and we love hearing what you guys have to say. So make sure you give us that 5 stars, that thumbs up, and let us know what you guys are thinking. You're the best fans of all time, and we really, really appreciate it. Okay, let's get into this. David, you are here with us tonight, and you are a casting director extraordinaire. You have done many, many shows, and a lot of DC shows right now.
Yes.
So what are you working on? You're working on this? You're working on Arrow?
Yeah, Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, which starts in the fall, and DC's Legends of Tomorrow, which will be a mid-season on CW.
Yeah.
It's a spin-off of Arrow and The Flash.
And you've really worked up your social media. You're blowing up over there. Where can everybody find you?
At Rappaport Casting on Twitter.
Yeah, it's really amazing because I luckily, Ashley and I, by the way, we miss you, Ash. We got to talk to you about, I think it was about a year ago. Mm-hmm. And since then, you have added a lot of projects to your dish.
It's been a busy year. It's been a busy year, but it's really, really exciting. There are a lot of great stuff going on. So
busy is good. We'll take it. What are you thinking about the show when you watch it overall? How are you feeling?
It was really emotional tonight. We haven't worked on this episode, and it was about maybe 2 months ago when we were working on this episode, and so I felt a little bit disconnected from it. And then watching it on the big screen tonight really made me tear up, especially at the end. It was a powerful show. It was an amazing season. I learned so much. I had a great time, and it was a really fitting end to just an incredible year.
I completely agree. I thought the show was brilliant, and tonight's episode was no different. Tari, how are you feeling about tonight?
I felt like it was the best episode on television. It was just the ending. Great. Everyone who was watching with me, I clapped at a certain point, which I don't do.
Did you cry a little?
I didn't, because I don't feel emotions.
I like that about you. I can relate to it.
Jeff, how did you feel?
I loved it. It was big. It was emotional. It was dramatic. And with this underscore, I felt like I was watching the Titanic at points. And I'm like, oh my God, gotta say goodbye. Gotta before it capsizes. I don't know. I thought it was great.
Don't let me go. Yeah, Titanic moment. Yeah, I think that it honestly was a great ending to a great first season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was a little nervous, not because they have given me any reason to be nervous, but there's so much build up to this finale that you're thinking, all right, please live up to expectations, please, and it really did. Especially after last week, which could have been a finale within itself. It was so incredible that I thought they really did a great job. And we have seen some crossovers throughout the season. We've seen a lot of guest characters, and I didn't know what they would focus on tonight. Mm-hmm. But I really feel like we put not at the very end, but we put a temporary bow on certain situations, which I like to see. Jeff's giving me the eyes.
No, I was just thinking about the bow. They wrapped up a lot of things and then gave us a big question mark.
So they gave us a bow and then they untied it and threw everything all over the place.
And they took the shoe off.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you guys at home, you have questions for David. Make sure you guys reach out to us, go into our chat and whatnot, and we definitely will be getting more into you at the end. But we're going to start by talking about specifics in this episode. So starting with our big bad of the season, Wells, who we didn't even know was the big bad until about halfway through the season. Now we're pretty damn positive. Now there's no doubt in our mind. He's stuck in the pipeline, and he is like the evilest. I guess he's the only one in the pipeline right now, so it's easy to be the evil. Yeah, he still manages to get some big belly in him though. He's pulling strings somehow still. It's crazy to me that he is so evil and so big and bad that even behind this glass, I'm still scared of him.
Yeah.
The glass doesn't stop him.
Well, now his like mask is off, so he's able to show his true colors. And you're like, this is weird.
Right. It's true. And he gives his proposition. He says, listen, I've outsmarted you yet again, and here's the deal. I want to go home. I've wanted to go home this whole time. Here's what happened. I tried to kill you because I hate you. Like, couldn't have sugarcoated it at all. No.
I hate you in any future.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, girl. It was a bad breakup. I want to go home.
Poor Barry. He has to sit there and take that. This, a couple weeks ago, was his frickin' mentor, and now he has to sit there and listen to him say, I hate you, but there is an upside, Barry. Yes, I hate you, but I also kind of love you, and I feel different. You know, here's what we're going to do. You're going to go home. I'm going to go home, and you're going to go save your mom. How you feel about that? All right, I couldn't help myself. During the show, I paused it. I turned to you guys. I'm like, all right, what are you guys going to do? This is you. You're sitting there. What decision do you make? And we were a little different across the board. So, Tauri, if this decision was proposed to you, what are you going to do?
I can't. I wouldn't take it because I had mentioned in the room that, like, even if he saved his mom, he's still, one, unleashing Eobard back onto the future, which means that he could essentially repeat this whole thing over again.
Right.
And two, like, he does have a really good life. Like, he's a superhero. He has a bunch of people who love him. He has a group of friends. Like, he's had some setbacks, but overall, like, he couldn't ask for more. So there's no reason he should just try to save this one person that would destroy everything.
Okay. David, what would you do?
In my real life or on the show?
I don't know.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. I'm not quite sure, actually.
All right.
Luckily, I don't have to make those decisions for the show. But in my real life, I think I would. I'd be curious to go back.
Because would you be able to sleep at night knowing you could have gone back, but then you didn't? That's what would eat at me. If you didn't go back, not knowing what would have happened. Jeff, what do you think?
To me, it was like a non-question.
Really?
Yeah, only because like he's literally risking everything. Mm-hmm. He can lose his father figure in Joe West, who I'm glad they addressed. He could lose like everything good, like you said, Tauri, and also like he has this fairy tale image of how his life would be with his mother and father raising him, but like realistically, it could have been anything. Anything could have happened.
To that point, though, Joe is one of the biggest advocates for him actually going back.
Yeah.
Which is surprising to me. I mean, we do find out that he was a little nervous about it, but he goes to his dad, he goes to Henry, and Henry says, no, don't do it. And you would think Henry would say, yes, you have to do it. That's my wife. That's your mom. And then he goes to Joe, who says, do it. And you would think Joe would say, don't do it. I'm your dad. I want you to stay here. But it was that role reversal that really tripped me up.
Right.
How did you guys feel about the two different interactions that he had?
I love the Henry scene in jail. Yeah. Like, he's such like a cool, wise character, and it's like nice to have that, especially since we used to get that from Harrison, and now he's out. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like such a warm scene, and I needed someone to like slap him and be like you said, Tauri, things are good now, and also like the world could end. We could unleash this black hole, and so there could be nothing.
Which was left out for a little bit. It was not put on the table that the world could end at first. When Wells says it, he's like, "Oh, by the way, you need to get back there fast enough. Not if you don't, this black hole could come and everything could be screwed." He fails to mention that. You know, no problem.
Minor detail.
Yeah, it's strange. What did you think about the interactions between the two dads that he has?
I understood it from like I guess on a personal level because Joe has seen Barry in a state where he's always trying to find the person who killed his mom. And so for him, that's Barry's ultimate goal, is to find the person or rescue his mom. So that being his motivation, it makes sense that Joe would go, yeah, this is the only choice that you have. Whereas Henry, on the other hand, I mean, he hasn't necessarily been in that world where they've been chasing down the man in yellow, but he wants what's best for his son, and he doesn't want to see his son end up becoming something else, because, you know, the way that Barry was raised, it kind of has made him a kind person, whereas if he...
More than kind of.
Yeah.
He's an incredibly kind person.
Yeah. So if he was if his mom was there, who knows what could have happened and who he could have become. Like maybe his mom got killed later and he became more resentful or something to that effect.
Yeah, that's it. That's what his dad was trying to say. You never know. There's a nature to this world that you kind of have to respect and live by. So he was pushing him this one way. But my favorite response was from Iris, who says, "Listen, I can't tell you what to do. I'm not here to tell you to go back or to not go back. Yes, if you go back, maybe there's more of a chance that we'll be together because things have been a little weird because we're brother-sister and all. But at the same time, don't do this for anybody else. You need to listen to yourself and be as selfish as you can. This is a decision you need to make and listen to your heart." And I was really happy to hear that from her.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful scene.
Absolutely. It really was. And it still makes me think about their future because now that the newspaper is on the table.
And I love that they were joking around about the newspaper, too.
Yeah.
It was like, I guess we get married.
She kind of reminded me of myself in this moment because sometimes I blow up. Like we saw her in the last 2 weeks. She was so pissed at everybody. And she's just like, I'm never going to be, this is not okay. I've been lied to. I've been this. And I just get so angry and emotional. And then the next week she's like, all right, I've had a week to cool down. Let's think about this. Now that I know I'm part of this gang, all right, it's a little funny. It's a little funny that I was on the outskirts of this. Let's make a joke about this. And she's the one who starts initiating like this sense of humor. So I thought that was cool, their little interaction on the roof. And it was cool that it was on the roof in general.
Yeah.
We got to go back up there, which we haven't been doing because once she knows it was the Flash, she didn't want to go up there anymore.
Yeah, she just rolled into Star Labs.
Yeah, I forgot about him being the streak. Yeah, that's true. But I listened to your guys' show last week. Lock the doors, guys. Lock the doors. I need to roll into Star Labs. That's what's going to happen next season.
In that costume.
Guys, I'm the Flash now. I'll take that sweater. I'll take that
Are
shirt.
you in Legends of Tomorrow?
Oh my God, if I rolled into Star Labs in this costume, I think I would be put in the pipeline. I like an imitation Flash. They'd be like,
Get
no.
into my office, I'd call security.
Absolutely. I'm like somebody on Sunset or Hollywood Boulevard. That's what it is. That's what I look like right now in my little fake Flash costume. Okay, so we are having a lot of different issues with Wells, though. He's talking to Barry and he's trying to convince him, but the other thing person he's talking to is Cisco. And this is when it melted my poor little heart. So Cisco, who unfortunately remembers the alternate timeline, he knows what happens. He says it finally to Wells, and Wells doesn't remember what happens. He says, "You killed me." And I keep replaying it over and over in my head, and Wells realizes what's going on with Cisco, which actually, Tauri, you had talked about a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that essentially Cisco being able to remember the other timeline is a sign of his powers as Vibe, because he's able to, as Wells said, see between the vibrations of the universes, which I have to give the shout out to Geodude, who tweeted that at me that same week. So, Geodude, you're awesome.
I'm sorry, for the non-comic book as knowledgeable, see between the vibrations of the universe, that's alternate timelines? What does that exactly mean?
So,
Don't be sorry, it's a great question.
Yeah, no. Essentially, I believe that we're acting under the idea of multiverse theory. So every universe vibrates at a different frequency.
Oh.
So say each universe was a note on a sheet of like sheet paper, music sheet paper.
Yeah.
So he could see
Sheet music.
Yes, sheet music. Thank you.
Like a note, like a sticky note?
Yes.
Okay, I've got the image.
He can see all the different notes on there.
Interesting.
Yeah. Whereas, like, we can only hear C, or someone else could only hear E.
So what would that allow Vibe to do? How would that affect his powers? If he can see all of that, how can he use that for good? Or
it comes in handy when you're fighting people from other dimensions, because you can see them moving between the two. So, for example, if you were fighting against a time traveler, you could see them shift, like when they're about to shift through time, or you could see a wormhole that's forming within the environment. And I don't know, I don't remember if it kind of is an extension of, you can essentially feel the because everything is constantly in motion, everything is constantly vibrating. And I can't remember, but I believe it's connected to that as well, where he can sense the vibrations of other people as well.
That's fascinating.
So have these powers maybe been dormant then? Because we have seen with Barry, at least, he was in the coma for 9 months. I don't know how long it takes after the particle accelerator for all these things to happen, but potentially this is just starting. It's at the beginning stages, and it could just grow from here.
Right.
Interesting.
It also could be like less like he was struck by lightning and like was like put out, and that's like a very drastic thing. But like I don't know, Cisco's could have been like less drastic, so, like slower coming, less life threatening.
Right.
Tell me about Killer Frost. Killer Frost?
Yeah.
Because we saw a little clip of her towards the end.
Yeah.
So what are her powers in the comic books?
In the comic books, she's essentially I would call her an ice person. So she can shoot ice from her hands, and she can turn things to ice and freeze things of that sort.
But she's more of a villain.
She is more of a villain.
Which is interesting, and I was going to... Stephen, go ahead.
We have a comment from the chat from Lucky Risner. Wants us to shout out Savian Gaming, his YouTube channel, but says, at ABTV Flash, do you think that because Barry saw Killer Frost and Vibe in the Speed Force that Season 2 will introduce them, please?
I definitely think that Season 2 is going to introduce them more.
And definitely Cisco first, it feels like.
Yeah.
Like baby steps, you know?
Absolutely. But the great thing is the show is doing really well, so we are allowed to take baby steps because we have time.
Yeah. Also, we keep losing so many members of the team. Like, I don't think they can have... If Killer Frost is going to be a villain, they can't have her, like, peace out. You know, we like her too much as the audience, I think.
That's true. That's true. I am curious, though, and I know we're going to talk more about casting later, but now that we are mentioning that these characters, yes, they are people, but they also are metahumans, potentially. When you are casting something like this and you know that Cisco may or may not turn into Vibe, how does that play into you casting him? Do you have to cast for both characters, kind of?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you do. I think, you know, as they were building the concept of the show and writing the script, and we were casting it, we had a general idea of where a lot of these characters would go, but ultimately we were looking for actors with just incredible range. And as you've seen on the show, a lot of these actors and characters play various roles. They become villains and they become good again and what have you. And so we really have to know that these actors have the ability to play all different types of people, and you know, not necessarily specifically that they're going to turn into a certain character, what have you. But there are a few. I can't say which ones we knew in advance, but there are a few.
Start tickle torturing him.
Okay. Well, on the topic of Cisco, I think it's so fascinating that, I mean, he has an extensive theater background, but this is his first like TV show. Yeah. That's a really like impressive that the network would sign off on somebody who has no like TV experience, I think.
He must have just blown it away.
He blew us away. He's a phenomenal actor, and he's so natural, and he was so funny.
Yeah.
And he sang in his audition, which really won us all over.
Did you ask him to?
The head of the studio did, and he sang something, I believe, from Jersey Boys, which he was in, and he was also in Once on Broadway.
Nice.
I saw that.
He's great.
Yeah.
Hopefully he'll get to sing on the show. I don't know if he will, but luckily we got to see Grant sing this year, which is
incredible.
exciting.
And even if they don't get to sing in the show, I definitely recommend checking them all out on Twitter and on YouTube because they do. Cisco and Jesse, and they tweet out different links of them singing together and just hanging out. That was incredible. They all really do. So they're very clearly talented in many different ways. We've got to get the Flash the musical going.
Yeah.
Tickets available now.
Speaking of Cisco, though, I thought it was interesting Harrison's reaction to finding out that he killed him in that alternate universe.
He seemed upset.
Upset, yeah, and surprised, and I kind of like was surprised and like enjoyed seeing that like scene.
Even when he was talking to Barry and he says, "I have grown to love you and I have grown to really care about you," to me it was like he almost had changed a little bit of a person, or he did have redeeming qualities. I don't know if that's fair to say. Do you guys think that there are some good parts to him?
I do. I think mostly because when he was Reverse Flash in the future, I think he was fighting a concept. He was fighting the Flash, but then he found out who the Flash was, and then he got to know him as a person, and the longer you spend with someone, you get to know their intricacies, and I think that like he got to the point where he grew to respect him. I mean, and he had to take on that mentor position, so it like bled into who he was.
Yeah. It just can you speak to, from comic like his experience, why Eobard Thawne hated him so much? It just is, it's like deep-seated hatred that it sounded like would never let up.
Right. Well, I mean, essentially, he's a giant crazy person, but like
Right.
I mean, but the long and the short is that he was so obsessed with the Flash, but the Flash was dead in his time, and so in his journey to meet the Flash, he went through so many different things. I think in some versions of the story, he, as the Reverse Flash, kept going through time to remove obstacles from his younger self so that he could become the Reverse Flash. And ultimately, when he found out he was going to become the Reverse Flash, he went insane and kind of blamed it on Barry.
So it's like obsession turned hatred.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes more sense. Okay.
got that?
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know. It would have been like a not today. It was just how it would have been like a huge event to hate somebody that much.
Right.
You know.
I think it was more of a slow burn, just every day building up that feeling and an obsession.
And because he hated him so much, I was just like, why are we trusting this character to give us advice throughout the show?
Because
he has ulterior motives.
He does,
Yeah.
but sometimes he does good things. Like, he has saved people's lives. He saved many people's lives, and he's helped Barry become faster. And if we were looking at this, Barry's goal at the beginning of the season was, I'm getting my dad out of jail. What Wells wanted would have gotten Barry's dad out of jail. So they did kind of, even though they had different ways of going about it, they wanted something that it wasn't mutually exclusive. They could have both gotten what they wanted.
But he also very clearly could have died. And while Wells
Absolutely.
wouldn't have been able to go to the future, it would have been like, okay, I got him.
Absolutely, but Wells going to the future didn't mean everything would go to crap for Barry 100%.
Right.
It wasn't like that would make that 100% happen. So sometimes I'm willing to trust him if it's going to get Barry something that he wants, even if Wells also gets something he wants.
Just letting him go out into the future, it's an unknown, and it's like massive.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of the reason. So Barry goes back, he makes a decision to go back, but I think that's part of the reason he gets back there and he realizes, I can't do this. I can't do this. And that is a huge thing that's going to weigh on him forever. And at least he did get to speak to his mom and tell her it's okay. And that is incredibly meaningful.
Hashtag closure.
Yeah. Seriously, though. But he didn't get to save her. What did you guys think about that choice? He goes back. He makes the choice to go back, but then he can't do it. Was it because his future self said, or what? You could have a theory. He has this theory smile on, so I know.
Well, I have a thought. I mean, I think yes, partially because future Barry was like, no, this is a terrible idea. But also, throughout the episode, the main line throughout was, everything has led up to this point.
Right.
Everything, either whether it was between Eddie and Iris or Barry and Joe, everything is a set of dominoes that from the moment that his mother was killed have fallen into place to lead there. And like, he throughout the episode saw, Firestorm and Caitlin get married, and like, he's seen how happy everyone else is. So for him to try to essentially potentially ruin that just to save his mom, I think he realized that one
And his
outweighed
dad.
the other.
And his dad.
And his dad.
Saving his mom would save his dad. It's not just one parent. So I agree with you, but it's a really, really tough choice that, I don't know, how old do we think Barry is? In his 20s? This kid in his 20s has to make. That's how could you let that weigh on you like that?
Yeah, and also though he like kind of took Iris's advice. He's like, do whatever you think, and it was like the future self being like, no, we can't do this.
Right.
And who are you going to trust? Your future self.
Right. But I think about what would have actually happened had he gone through with it. Would it have been the worst thing in the world to go back, have his mom be alive, have his dad be out of prison, and still know Iris and still know Joe, maybe get a little flirtation thing going on with Iris sooner before she's your sister? I mean, no, you wouldn't have known Cisco and you wouldn't have known Caitlin, and then our Scooby Gang would have dispersed, so that's sad for us, and the TV show probably wouldn't have been as good. But for Barry, he maybe could have come out on top.
It was never going to happen. It would have negated the entire first season.
Yeah,
That's true.
pretty much.
You know, and like, how are you going to get invested in a show where that keeps like deleting itself?
That's true. And
Yeah.
he wouldn't have been the amazing person he is today if he had
Right.
made that decision, I think. Because it would have still made made Wells go into the future, and there would have been this ongoing saga, and he's a problem, and he needed to take care of the problem. So he did. He comes back, and he goes to, I would have to assume, try to kill Wells. He comes right at him. And
that flying punch.
That was, I didn't want to be on the other end of that. That was really a good one. Knocks him out, but then his punches aren't as strong. So I'm thinking, okay, the title of this episode is Fast Enough, but is he strong enough? I don't know. And Wells, as he does this thing where he did to Cisco, what were you guys thinking in that moment? Okay, season 1, end of this entire show now because Barry's gonna die? Or like, what was going through your guys' mind?
Oh man, so many things. Because it was.
I want to know them all.
Well, because it wasn't just like, oh, Wells is evil. It's like he definitely, at his core, like in that moment where he's like, you could have had everything you wanted. He showed that he really cared for these people, and so like it was him acting out of anger the same way he killed Barry's mom. But it was also this moment where Barry also knew that it was a futile fight.
Right.
So I've been watching too much Game of Thrones, but I was like, maybe they're not gonna save him. But like,
I know.
Ultimately, something happened, and he was saved, and it was sad, and it was great. It was so great.
Although it makes sense because we knew somebody was going to die this episode, and
right,
many people. We've lost a lot of lives. Too many. What were you thinking as his hand's about to go through? You're like, okay, who's going to come save him? Which one of you is going to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really like thinking about like what was going to happen, if that makes sense. I was just kind of like, oh wow, what's going to happen next, and like watching and enjoying it versus like intellectualizing. So I don't know how to
I was
answer
thinking
that.
about the effects.
Yeah.
I thought the effects were incredible.
Yeah, they were
Unbelievable.
bananas.
Yeah.
Unbelievable with the wormhole
But
and
like
everything.
consistently.
Consistently.
Yeah.
And when he was going through the wormhole and we're seeing like the flashbacks of scenes, it felt like so 80s but still modern, and I really love that.
I think that throughout this entire season, they have been so consistent with incredible effects and also the creativity of giving him his same powers, but using them in different ways. It's unbelievable to me that being the fastest man alive can convert to so many different things, like as we see at the end of this episode, running in the middle of the air, going through the tornado, all these things with his hands and whatever you can do. So I would like to be a little faster, I think, in life. That is how I'm feeling.
Good luck.
So as he's standing there, he's about to die, and I'm thinking, Barry, I wish you could save yourself, but I guess we're just not there yet. One day I think you will be, but you're not there yet. You need help. Who's stepping in? Oh my gosh, it's Eddie.
Left field.
Yeah.
This blew my mind. The second that he said to Iris, I want to be with you, I was like, bummer. We must be killing him off because it's not going to work.
Oh, really? You thought that?
Yeah, I did. I think I said it out loud. Like, I said he's
You were
screwed
like,
or
he's-
something.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a goner. But then I never expected this to be the way it goes down. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And then going with the smile on his face. Yeah, I just shot myself, but I'm a hero. Like, I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
That was creepy.
It took me a second.
It was, wasn't it?
Yes, it definitely. It took me a second as we turn and we see him shoot himself. I'm like, wait a second, we're dealing with something right now. I can't deal with you being like dramatic. And then I'm like, oh no, he's helping. You're doing something useful.
And also
Brilliant.
the shots in those like moments that like end fight, it's always like an accident. Like like two guys are fighting and like the girl watching it shot, always. And so like to have him shoot himself, it's just like, oh God.
Even though you knew what was coming, how did you feel about that
It
moment?
was sad. It's sad. It's sad to. It was a sad moment on the show, and it's sad to see him go.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
He did an amazing job with the character. I thought that he just did a great
Yeah.
job.
He's terrific.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can't reveal the answer, but I feel like in this show, it's taught us like we never know who will like leave the show.
You never do. You never
know,
do.
like we
I
got
never do.
Cisco
They
for a
don't really
second.
tell me.
Really? Well, what did you think when the script came out with Cisco dying at the end?
Well, that was really shocking to me because it's like, wait a second. It's the middle of the season and we love him and I don't want to see him go. And then I read the end of the script and realized, he didn't. But that's what's exciting. You never know, and any of these people could go at any time.
Right. It's crazy to think about. All right, Tauri, I need your help with something.
Okay.
So before he comes coming out with the mega punch, we've got a helmet
Oh,
that comes
yes.
through.
Oh yeah.
All right, now drum roll please, Tauri with your genius. What's up?
So that helmet was the helmet of Jay Garrett, who was the first Flash. think it was in one of the first few episodes, you see Barry with some original Flash comics in his backpack. So he is a mentor, or not a mentor, but like what Barry Allen in the comics like wants to be before he becomes the Flash. But he's also like the very first speedster. So you would imagine that he lives within the Speed Force, and that's why the helmet came out.
So why exactly would it come out then? Just on accident, fell off the head? Or?
He's just running so fast. I mean, it's an Easter egg, but so that's the like practical reason. But also because the Speed Force is connected to all speedsters throughout all time. So essentially, it connects Barry to everyone who will ever be a part of the Speed Force.
And when Wells sees that, he says, "That's my cue to go," because he is very aware of what's going on in that moment.
Right.
Interesting. I love Easter eggs like that.
Yeah, and something Will said too about then having to like, he altered some timeline how to create the Flash. I don't remember the wording, but it like alluded to like in alternate worlds you're the Flash for like other reasons beyond like the particle accelerator explosion.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
Really interesting. They have talked about multiple different characters, and we did have our Green Lantern reference last week, so you never know. You should have some work on your hands for you with all these references going on.
Scared.
I know. No, I believe in you, though. You'll be okay. I trust you. So something I want to talk about briefly is Iris's relationships on this show in general, because yes, tonight she has Eddie say, or last week, no, we can't be together, and he comes back and says, yes, we can. She seemingly wants to go with that, but then she also knows about the newspaper, which she lets us know. Where are you guys right now on team what, or are you on any team when it comes to Iris and her love life?
I am not a big shipper.
I know.
But I mean, I think that like at this point she is destined for the Flash, and I think that they've been developing her character over the course of the season, like to make her not to take fan words, but like make her worthy of the Flash. And like Candace has been killing it.
Yeah, she's incredible.
And so I would like her with anyone, but like I also love her as a standalone character.
Good point. Jeff, how are you
I just think now that too she's in mourning for her fiance, they in theory got back together, that this is going to take her a long time to like get over, and in the meantime maybe Barry will like find someone new, just like for a little bit of the season.
Another Linda kind of thing.
Yeah, just because they can't have them get together, you know, like right away for the sake of like 10 seasons.
So are you much of a shipper, and how much of this casting is about chemistry reads, and do you know the way that things are going when you're casting them?
I'm embarrassed to say I don't know what a shipper is.
Oh, a shipper. No, it's totally okay. It's a relatively new term, and it means when you ship somebody, you like their relationship. So you ship them together. It could be
you
a
can't
friendship.
just ship one person. You ship
ship
people together.
you ship
Couples,
the.
yeah.
Don't be embarrassed. I had to have my little sister teach me. So
okay.
so you can ship. That's why they're ship names. Like when you combine the names of the two people, then it's their ship name.
Right.
So do you get invested in these relationships, or how does it work? Because I know, yes, you're a fan, but you also have to cast for it.
Yeah, I mean, we do chemistry reads, which is basically taking the two actors. Like we read Grant with Candace once Grant was cast and tested their chemistry, and we tested his chemistry with other women, and they had the best chemistry together, and there was something really magical there, and so
you cast him though before you cast anybody else, so everybody was kind of you doing a chemistry read with him. It wasn't. Got it.
Yeah, we were basing their chemistry off of Grant, or with Grant rather. Other shows, you don't cast the lead first, and you're just kind of casting a group together and sort of casting the chemistry of an ensemble and seeing what works and going from there. But in this case, they were just sort of magical. I don't know how you can't be with either of them. They're such kind people. They're such beautiful people. They're such talented actors. They bring out the best of each other. So it's fun to watch them together. I mean, I don't know that I would want story-wise either of them for them to end up together, him to end up with Caitlin. I want to see them all together. I don't know.
You want to see them as a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You ship the team.
I really ship the team. Yeah, it's a great team.
Did you do like non-romantic relationship chemistry? Like we love like
Cisco and Caitlin together as the Scooby Gang.
like Joe
I'm
West.
trying to remember. No, I don't think we tested them together. Cisco tested separately and Danielle tested separately. Sometimes you just have to sort of. It's really a guess. You have to go with your gut instinct and kind of guess on chemistry, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, and then there's editing. You know?
Hopefully, there's editing, and also hopefully if there's enough talent between them, then they can act and do the chemistry thing through acting.
Right.
Exactly.
I love the chemistry tonight though with Firestorm and with Caitlin. So
was sweet.
It's great to see Ronnie back. He's been gone for a little bit, and I didn't know if we would see him because he had his own thing to deal with, like being on fire and stuff, and being part of Martin. But it was great tonight. They decided they were engaged before, and there's nothing really standing in their way anymore. So why don't we get married in the middle of all this? There's no time like the present.
Yeah. That reunion and the marriage felt like fast to me. Were you guys like surprised by it?
Yes, I was surprised.
A little bit, though. I was glad that they did it, mostly because to me maybe it felt fast, but it was also that Barry could erase this reality, so this could never happen in the new world.
But do you think that Barry's life, and if he had done all of that, would have in any way affected Caitlin and Ronnie's relationship, other than that the particle accelerator would have never exploded and Caitlin and Ronnie probably would have gotten married earlier?
I mean, on that timeline, maybe there never would have been a particle accelerator to build. Maybe they never would have met building it. You know?
Right.
I guess you never know how things can be affected.
Yeah.
Like the girl.
It's like incalculable.
Right. You never. The girl who's pouring you coffee could have spilled on you. You could have had to go home, and then something else happens. So it's like that movie Sliding Doors. Mm-hmm. One thing happens, and
Gwyneth
everything.
Paltrow.
Yeah, it was a really good movie.
Back when it was okay to like her. I remember that.
I was going to say, me too.
Okay.
Still a fan. But I think that it is interesting to think about how they could have been different, and that's why I also at first was like, is this the right time to get married? We're really dealing with a lot of stuff. But then I was kind of excited about it, and it was a different moment. This episode was so intense. I needed a little bit of love. A little bit of love that was going to work. Not just like, I'm going to pronounce to you that I love you, and then I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Right.
It's difficult for my heart.
And I don't make too many stretches, but it's nice to know that they get each other's careers. So if Ronnie needs to go off and be Firestorm in a different city, I could see her being like, okay, just call me tomorrow.
Yeah. She's not calling who are you talking to? What are you doing tonight?
I hear Felicity in the background.
No, I love it. And I also love that Martin was back in tonight's episode. Martin Stein, that was so great. He was the voice of reason and wisdom for so many things. He's part of the Scooby Gang now. I'm keeping him.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm not giving him back.
I love Victor Garber. I love his energy with the Scooby Gang. I need him more.
As he comes on screen and you go, yes!
Did I say that?
And I go, what, do you love him or something? You're like, I really, really do. It makes sense. I feel like he does complete the gang. And like you were talking about earlier, we kind of need to fill the void of Wells now.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we're going to be seeing much of him after he disintegrates. Is that what you would call it?
Don't look at me.
You know what? I have no idea. The Reverse Flash is such a major comic book villain for the Flash that I just don't. I would be surprised if they're writing him off in season 1.
Also, go ahead.
Oh no, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna ask. Before he dies, he changes back body forms. Mm-hmm. I wonder what that means. I just maybe I'm reading too much into it.
I think that just relating to that, I think it is related to him never being born means he never took Wells's body. Mm-hmm. So then that would probably be the reason why he reverted back to his original form. I would imagine that the same way that everything would have changed when Barry saved his mom, everything changed when he was not born, because he essentially set off the original set of dominoes.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's going to be a way for them to bring him back, especially considering there's probably an alternate universe thing going on right now.
Bring him back as Wells or bring him back as Eobard?
You could do both at this point.
I think we've seen the end of Wells. I think if he pops up, the
The evil.
I don't want to say the character, but like I think if Eobard comes back, it'll be in like Wells's face and body, perhaps. But I think Wells is dead for good.
We definitely, the point of this is we don't know what the aftermath of this is. We really don't.
Right.
And I don't even know how to describe what's going on outside. Because,
Oh, that little thing.
yeah, so this is again where I looked at Tauri a little bit. What's going on outside? We walk outside of Star Labs and things are not looking so good. Things are flying in the air. Barry's got to do what he did with the tornado. No,
Right.
Martin's like, dude, not possible. Don't even try it. Not possible. He's going to try it anyway. What's going on?
Well, I mean, it's the black hole that everyone was afraid of. I mean, my theory is that kind of what I mentioned before, in that like they altered the timeline in killing Wells's the Thawne line. So essentially, that further ruptured the timeline, and then that pushed the wormhole that was stable into the black hole version that it turned out to be.
Basically, they poked the bear.
Yes.
Yeah, they really did. And now the aftermath will come.
Yeah, and also like I have no idea like what is going to happen now that Barry has like jumped into the black hole. But I think it's important to remember, you noted, Roxy, that we saw Eddie Thawne's body go up in there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that could mean anything or not, but like I don't know. You know, magic happens in black holes.
Especially when you can.
It's true, yeah.
I'm just thinking about that for a second. Yeah, just letting that soak
I'll show you
in.
mine later.
On that note, we covered the episode, so let's get more into David's stuff. But anyway, okay.
water?
So I want to talk to you about the casting of this show, and then also the other properties that you are working on right now that are linked to this show, so it is relevant.
Yes.
Okay, you said you first cast Grant. What was it about Grant? Had you seen him before? Did he walk into your room? Had he auditioned for you?
Yeah, Grant had auditioned for us for 90210, and we cast him in a big arc on 90210, the last season of that, where he played a really, really evil, mean guy.
Watched it.
And he also played
Yeah.
He also played a really mean guy on Glee, and I thought he did a phenomenal job there.
Incredible.
And every time I brought him in, he just seemed like the nicest, sweetest, kind of almost goofiest guy, and it was playing so against type in these roles. And when this role came about and they wanted somebody who wasn't your typical superhero, was someone a little bit more relatable and fun and charming and maybe a little bit geeky and became a superhero, he was literally the first person I thought of.
Wow.
And he was the first person that I brought in for the producers, and we cast him, and you know, it made sense. I could not imagine anybody else in that role. I think he's fantastic. And he's brought so much like depth and heart to that role.
I completely agree, and I have to say that this doesn't happen with many roles, but I have not heard one person dislike him in that role. Nobody across the board.
No, he has not missed a beat.
He's just so charming, too.
He really is, yeah.
In tonight's episode, when he's hysterically crying,
That broke my heart.
You're
That broke my heart,
brilliant.
yeah.
His moment with his mom. I mean,
That was a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
It sounds like for such a massive role in a show, it almost was like a surprisingly easy. Like it sounds like.
It was so difficult.
Really?
Yes, because
Okay, it just sounds like first choice, and he ends up being
Swing and a
great.
miss.
it's a process. Casting is a huge process, and there are so many people involved in making the decision. And I mentioned to you before, there's studio and network and directors and producers, and there was no one that questioned Grant's ability, but as they're creating the show, they don't know necessarily exactly what it is that they want, and you have to go through this process. You have to see a lot of people, you have to test people, you have to put them on tape, put them on camera, do hair, makeup, wardrobe, the whole thing. It's a big investment. It's a big business investment for these people, for this studio, and they want to make sure they're casting the right person, and so that's why it takes a long time. You know, we cast Stephen Amell was the first person we brought in, and Melissa Benoist was the first person we brought in for Supergirl. And I don't know if that's going to work for me anymore, because you still have to go through the process. You still have to show the studio and network several choices and make them feel a part of the decision.
Wow.
Even though I may know it and then the producers may know it, it takes some time.
Oh, so even though you thought of Grant first, you're still bringing in other choices.
You have to. Yeah.
Right.
It's so crazy to me that somebody that you would think of immediately takes that long. Imagine somebody you can't think of immediately. That must take even longer.
Yes, it's It's a tough job.
Was there anybody that you were just racking your brain for, couldn't figure it out, and then you saw the person, you're like, oh, great, that's them. I didn't know them before, but...
That's a really good question. You know, I think Candace came in really early, and we loved her from the get-go, but because we didn't have Barry cast yet, I think we had to wait for Barry to be cast and then go back and look again and look at the tapes and bring her back in again and sort of see her in that light and see her together with Grant, and then it made, you know, perfect sense. So sometimes you miss people the first go around, and someone once told me, you know, you have to look back from where you started and maybe they're there already.
So it sounds like Grant was like probably your first choice.
100%.
So did you? That's wonderful. Did you? Like, how many of the cast was your first choice? Like, is like percentage-wise, can you say? And I know it's not always up to you. It's like 1,000.
No, it's not just my decision ever. They are all actors that I have followed their careers forever. You know, for as long as I've been in the business, I've been fans of it. Yeah. So it was sort of a matter of time. Like Danielle Panabaker, I've always loved, and I've always wanted to cast her, and I don't always get to cast my favorite actors, and whether they're right for the role tonally or not. And so this was one that came up that she just came in and she nailed it, and we kind of knew right away.
We love her.
You must be crossing your fingers for them under the table when somebody like that comes in.
I'm pushing as hard as I can. I mean, they win it on their own. You know, it's once you give them that opportunity, you open the door to them, and it's difficult. There's a lot of eyes on you, and there's a lot of expectations. But she's such a professional. And Carlos was such a discovery. He was found in New York by our New York casting directors for Warner Brothers, and he's just as exciting as, you know, Jesse L. Martin, who I've always been a fan of.
Incredible. Yeah. Is it helpful for you at all that now you're working on all these DC properties, so somebody might not be right for that hero, but they're right for this hero?
Yes, absolutely. I think especially really understanding now the tone of these worlds and these shows. You know, I didn't really know anything about comic books before I started these shows. What I really responded to was just the overwhelming passion and excitement of our executive producers and writers who knew these worlds inside and out, and they would come and tell me about these characters and these amazing, fantastical stories that didn't mean anything to me, but their excitement meant something to me, and I wanted to connect those ideas with the right actor, and now I have an opportunity to do it over, you know, 3 shows that will overlap, and a 4th, Supergirl, which isn't, you know, in that same universe, just on a different network.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you were saying earlier with the 3 overlapping shows, if you're booking one actor for the role, that's 3 different contracts you didn't negotiate?
If they're on, you know, it's a little confusing, but each time they reappear. Yeah. So like Robbie Mell, for example, you book him an episode at a time, let's say, as a guest star.
Per series, though.
Per series, yeah. Ideally, you pre-negotiate their rate or their deal, what have you, for each show. And now that we sort of understand what that means, and you know that the 3 shows are working in tandem, we're able to negotiate that up front.
Oh, but it took a while. Schedules of them.
That takes, you know, there's a whole team. I have such an amazing office. We have an amazing production and crew up in Vancouver on the 3 shows, and we all work together to make it happen.
So based on your casting for the 2 shows we haven't seen yet, should we be excited of what we're gonna see?
We got to see a little sneak of Hot Girl tonight, Sierra Renee.
That was really cool.
Yeah, I was excited to see her.
She just looks up, says nothing, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, she was up there shooting Legends when they pulled her in to do that quick shoot. I think they added it last minute. So.
Nice. If you guys haven't checked it out, obviously they released upfront a little bit, so make sure the trailers are.
I know.
Or we're gonna cover them together. I just made that decision right now.
Yeah, and you guys will like it.
Yeah, of course. You know, like diversity is such like a big like buzzword right now in Hollywood, and I think The Flash has it. Like 100%. Was that something you guys were striving for going forward?
Absolutely. I mean, ideally, you're always colorblind casting and casting the best actor for the role. And you know, it was that was really exciting for us to cast Joe West and Iris West as African American. They weren't African American in the comic books, if I'm correct.
You are correct.
And we just wanted the best actors, and we got them. We got Jesse L. Martin.
The 2 of them.
It was so exciting.
I can't believe that there wasn't a chemistry read for the 2 of them, because they're
terrific together.
Perfect together.
Yeah.
In that father-daughter relationship, it's amazing.
They're good people. I think that's something we do in casting sometimes too. Is we act almost as HR people, where we're looking for kind, generous people who will be nice to each other on set and will give a lot of themselves, and I think that shows. I know Candace and Jesse are really close, and so it's nice to watch them work together like that.
Yeah, also probably like a testament to Jesse L. Martin's acting. Just like as an actor, because like he has chemistry with everybody.
He really does.
That's
he
true.
Really does, yeah.
That's true. I absolutely agree. Well, David, thank you so much for joining
My pleasure.
us.
Thank you for having me.
I want everybody to find you and all the things that you're working on and wherever you are on social media. So everybody who's looking for you, where can they find you?
At Rappaport Casting, just RAPAPORT at Twitter. Yeah, please find me. I'm such a huge fan of you guys. I love what you're doing here. I think it's really, really fantastic,
Thanks.
and I think. It's a just great conversation you're having every week, so I appreciate it.
You're the best. Thank you so much. And make sure to check out Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow, and of course Flash and Arrow and everything he's done. You've been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seriously.
And Jeffrey Masters, where can everybody find you?
I'm on Twitter at JeffMasters1.
And Tar.
I'm on Twitter at Tauri J. It's TaurijAY.
And Ashley is at Miss Ashley Daniels, and also at Ashley Daniels, and she's on Periscope and Twitter and all those great things. And I'm Roxy, and you can find me at Roxy Striar. And you guys have been absolutely amazing. You can find us at AfterBuzz TV, YouTube.com/AfterBuzz TV, on iTunes, on SoundCloud, wherever you are. Use the hashtag ABTVFlash. Even though it's hiatus, we will be looking out for you guys. We really want to keep the conversation going because it's going to be a long break. Luckily, we have a season 2 though, and we will talk to you guys throughout. Thank you so much. You've been the best ever. We love you guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.